Welcome to the Right Path podcast, everyone, where being an actual author, still matters. Folks, this is the podcast that's for authors. It's about authors. It's being done by an author. It's where we share our journeys. It's where we explore our creativity, and it's where we examine the why behind it all, which is incredibly important when we really get to it. Our guest today is the author of Pink Socks, a book that I just had the pleasure to read, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say about it. Please welcome to the show, Nicholas Adkins. Nick, how you doing today, brother?
Rory, it's good to see you. Thank you for having me on. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I'm grateful to share the Pink Sock story with you and your listeners. So and I'm very grateful that you read the book and that it spoke to your heart. So
100%. I mean, how could
yeah.
it not? Really? I think you wrote it on purpose to get to somebody's heartstrings. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, you're right, actually. So we'll talk a little bit about the Pink Sox tribe and 10 years of what we've been doing around the world with this global movement of spreading love and kindness. But when I wrote the book, Rory, there's over 300,000 people in the Pink Sox tribe now and there literally are pink socks. We'll talk more about that.
Right.
Um, but I had to write this book for three audiences, if you will. We'll call them circles. The first circle would be the people who have pink socks around the world.
Okay.
So I needed to speak to their hearts. I needed to fill in a little more of the backstory and the detail on the origin. And people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's you and Andrew did that." Oh, and then the second circle, the second audience was a little larger. People that have heard about the pink socks movement, but they don't have pink socks yet. So they're curious. They know what it is. And then the third circle, the largest circle, that larger audience, are the people who had no idea what this is. So really, Rory, I wrote this book for you. And so I'm really glad that it spoke to your heart because
I
that's what I
appreciate
wanted
that.
to do. So,
Yeah.
the message had to resonate with all three circles. It had to ripple out so that it made sense and meaning for each of us. And that was the intention of the book. So
As we get into answering those questions, like what is Pink Socks, in the first place, tell everybody a little bit about who is, Nicholas Adkins first.
yeah.
What made, who are you? What are you about? What made you want to go down this road in the first place? Because there's a pretty steep message behind this whole movement.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to back up to 2010. And in 2010, I didn't look anything like this. Uh, I was a suit and tie guy. I was a COO of a healthcare company in Nashville, Tennessee. Custom suits, cufflinks. I was that guy. And I was that guy for most of my adult life. And then 2010, we were trying to decide what to do with the company. We were kind of at a crossroads for the direction. We were headquartered in Nashville, operating in 37 states. And we are like, should we buy that company, acquire them? Should we be acquired? Should we merge? Should we take on some more debt? Should we just build this piece out ourselves? What do we want to do? And I didn't really have a good answer for that. And I had made a decision to go to this thing in the desert in Nevada called Burning Man. And it was my first time to go to Burning Man in 2010. And I sat, in the boardroom with my cuff links on and straightened my tie. So I don't really have a vote on what I want to do, but I'm going to go to this thing called Burning Man and I'll come back with an answer. Burning Man is 70,000 people from all around the world gather in Nevada for 1 week of the year to have this experiment and experiential living, creating the fifth largest city in the state of Nevada for 1 week every year, and then it disappears. And so everybody kind of signs off on these 10 principles. It's basically the social contract so that this thing doesn't fold in on itself by the end of the week and go all Lord of the Flies.
Right.
And one of the principles is gifting. And I'll talk more about that principle of gifting and how that really became the ethos of the Pink Sox movement. Anyway, I went to the event, I came back, and now I'm in the boardroom in blue jeans and a t-shirt and Tevas and tan. I haven't shaved. And they're like, "Well, how was that Burning Man thing?" I said, "It was great." I'm like, "Well, what's your vote? What do you want to do with the company?" I said, "Sell it. I'm out." And they're like, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to move to Portland, Oregon and become a hippie." And that's what I did.
There you go. I was gonna the
So
answer everybody expects at that moment, right? In the boardroom.
exactly like so that happened. The company, the sale went through in 2011, and spring of 2012, I moved to Portland. In April of 2012, and then in June, so right after I arrived, I met a burner who owns a kilt company, makes kilts. And he said, Nick, if you ever want a kilt, I said, no, you want to try? I said, yes, I want to wear a kilt. So I went over there, my blue jeans, put the kilt on, put the blue jeans in the bag, walked out of the store and went home and got all of my pants and took them immediately to the Goodwill. And I went all in on kilts. And so June of 2012 was the last time I wore pants. I only wear kilts and I only wear their brand. And Rory, I tell you that the first thing I discovered day one of wearing a kilt is you have to wear fun socks because everybody sees your socks. You can't be that guy in the knee-high dress black socks and the Bermuda shorts. You can't be that geek.
Right.
So I went and bought as many fun, crazy, funky socks as I could find. T-Rexes, Sasquatch, pugs, tacos, robot monkeys, cupcakes, unicorns, you name it. But the pair that got the most, hey, I like your socks, were these knee-high pink socks with black mustache, like handlebar mustaches on it. For whatever reason, those seem to be those are cool. And so I was doing a pretty good job at being a hippie, riding my pink furry bike, and I called the pink Cadillac, and my little dog who looks like a little teddy bear is in the basket, and just I'm doing all I can do to keep Portland weird, okay?
All right.
And I got sucked back into the business world in 2015. I met one of the original founders of WebMD, which is a kind of online
Right.
information for health information source. Reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, you seem pretty interesting. Let's get together for coffee." So we did, and said, "Do you want to be an investor? Would you like to be an operator? Come in." I was like, Long story short on that is I came back in as a co-founder, an investor of this company, and we created the world's first open API for asynchronous video file management on a HIPAA compliant stack, which HIPAA is this healthcare privacy
Right.
thing that you have to do. Um, and so here it is, 2015, and I don't have any more suits, and we're out raising money. That's what you have to do with a startup is you got to go beg for money.
Right.
And so we're going into all these VCs and, pitching. And beyond that, I said, we've really got to get our name. We're a little startup and that time sleepy little Portland. Nobody's heard of us. So I got online and I Googled where can I find, the biggest conference for healthcare IT professionals. And there was this big national group that was having their national event, the Super Bowl events for them that year. And it was in Chicago. So I told Andrew Richards, who is our one of the co-founders and chief technology officer, I told him, I said, listen, and all this is in the book, and I go into a little more detail in the book, but on time's sake, I said, Andrew, look, I don't have a suit. There's gonna be 42,000 people in Chicago at this conference in suit and ties. You don't wear a suit either. Just wear some blue jeans, wear a brew pub shirt, roll your pants up a little. I'm gonna go get us 100 pair of these pink socks. You put 50 in your little backpack. I'm gonna put 50 pair in my little backpack, and we're gonna go rolling into the McCormick Center. And every time somebody says, "Hey, what's your story with these pink socks?" I'm Nick. This is Andrew. We've got some pink socks for you. What's your name? Let's get a picture and play on Twitter because back then Twitter was fun, and we
Right.
started using. Remember those days? Uh, we started using the hashtag pink socks, always one word, always plural, and it went viral at that event. I mean, as soon as we walk in, we're getting invited to go meet with, oh, come meet the CEO at Intel, come meet the chief medical officer at Dell Med, come meet, the CTO at Microsoft. And our minds just got blown how fast we were making connections, all because of these pink socks. And it was a lot of fun. And we still have those OG, the original gangsta people and that are still friends that from those connections we made 10 years ago. And uh, in retrospect, we probably should have taken business cards, but we had a lot of fun gifting pink socks, walking around, meeting people, and we we did that for a year. Andrew and I, we went to conferences all around the country, and everywhere we'd go, they would, are the Pink Sox guys going to be here? And, we show up and get more Pink Sox and get more pictures on Twitter and have fun. And a year went by, and I'm sitting on my sofa talking to Andrew. And the next year, this conference is going to be in Orlando. And I said, "Well, Andrew, we can't go in with Pink Socks. We had fun. We played on Twitter. We created a lot of smiles. We got to do something different." And about that time, I get a DM on Twitter. Somebody says, "Hey, Nick, did you send some pink socks to somebody in the Netherlands?" I'm like, "No." And there was a guy in the Netherlands who had sourced pink socks on his own and was using them to gift to promote awareness for the work that he was doing with ataxia. No, not ataxia, with Alzheimer's and dementia care. But then another message comes in. "Hey, Nick, did you send some pink socks to somebody in Wales?" I'm like, "No, what?" There's a guy in Wales that was sourced pink socks and was gifting them to drive awareness for the work that he's doing with ataxia, which is a rare disease. It's in that moment we knew that this thing had gone organic. And I said to Andrew, "Get a bigger bag." I'm going to buy 200 pair of pink socks instead of 100.
We're going to need
So
a bigger bag. There
we're
you
going to need a bigger bag. Yeah. And
go.
and so it just never, that was 2016, 2017. I got a call from the TED people to come do a talk in San Francisco. And when they called, I asked the lady, I said, "Well, what do you want me to speak on? Telemedicine?" That was kind of the one of the no-brainer use cases for this technology that we'd created.
Mhm.
And she's like, "No, I don't want you to talk about telemedicine. I want you to come tell the story of the Pink Socks movement." And I literally laughed at her. I go, "There's no movement. It's just a bunch of people gifting pink socks at conferences and having fun, playing on Twitter." And she's like, "No, it's a movement. And that's why I'm calling you, because we want you to share the story." And I was like, you know, uh, my mind continually gets blown every single day. But those early years, it was just nonstop, like how fast it was growing. And after that TED Talk, it really grew. And so here we are 10 years later. April was our 10th birthday.
Yeah.
Along the
Congratulations.
way, thank you. Along the way, we put some structure to it. We became a nonprofit. Then we got our 501(c)(3) status as a charitable organization, and started helping amplify the message of lots of people and organizations that are doing good things in their communities and their organizations.
Yeah.
And even along the way, got involved with some schools, which that's in the book. But yeah, it's 300,000 pairs of pink socks have been gifted all around the world at this point, and it is built on this ethos of gifting, that once upon a time you connected with someone and they gave you this token of that connection. And that's what really all the pink socks are, is this: "Hey, once upon a time I met this woman on a plane in Denver, and she had some pink socks, and I said something, and she's like, 'Hey, Rory, I got something for you.' And she reached in her bag and gives you pink socks. You're like, 'Oh God.'" And that's really how it happened. It just organically has grown and spread all around the world. And the book is doing the same thing, right? So it's all built on the ethos of gifting and how that will spread.
Yeah.
And I tell you, for years, Roy, people were saying, "Nick, you should write a book." I'm like, and no. And then I met this guy who, when first met him through Pink Socks, I was down in Palo Alto at Google, and he and I were like friends on Twitter. And he said, "Well, why don't you come over and I'll show you around." And he was the chief technology officer for the city of Palo Alto, named Jonathan Reichenthal. And so I went over, gifted him his pink socks, and we just became friends and have been friends all along. About 2.5 years ago, he was at my house for dinner, and he said, "You got to really write a book." Because I'm telling you, I've written lots of books, and this, you need to write a book. The world needs this story. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay." And even though it's a small book, it was the most difficult project I've ever worked on. It's more difficult than starting companies. It's more difficult than going to business school and getting in my MBA. I mean, it's just, it was the hardest thing I've ever done is to sit down and tell a story that has been carefully shepherded with lots of love and intention and grown. There was a responsibility to the OG folks to share that story, get it right. And then it's also for this bigger audience to write a story that resonates. And I just thought, well, the book really is a reminder of how we can each show up with love and kindness in every now if we put our minds to it, if we get out of our minds and come back down into our heart. Our heart already knows this way, this path of love and kindness, but there's just so much fire hosing of negative information, social media. It's just the algorithms. It's toxic, the polarization that's occurred. And so I felt like now is probably the time that we all need a reminder to practice what we may have forgotten, but what we know to be true. And that is that all of us just want love and kindness. Nobody wants chaos. Nobody wants the perma crisis that we find ourselves in. And if we step away from these
Right.
things for a minute, put these down, take our AirPods out, actually look at the person, sitting next to us on the bus or on the plane or standing in line at the post office or the grocery store and say, hey, I'm Nick. It's good to see you. Just those little moments of connection turn into magical connections, magical moments of seeing ourselves and each other, finding empathy and some lost humanity, right? So, and the book is, as you know, is a collection of some of those stories.
Hmm.
And um, so yeah, that's why I did it. It felt like now was the time. I mean, there were times, Roy, when I was writing it and Jonathan would end up being my editor who kind of pushed me all along, and I'd walk away from the book for months at a time. And have you written anything? No. Uh, and there were times when I was writing the book that felt like almost like, is is this therapy? Am I just journaling here for my own, you know, mental health? And
Right.
the answer was yes. I mean, it was. And so, uh,
I,
we sometimes forget that, and unfortunately, the algorithms are by design making us forget. It's making us actually believe that we're so different. The reality is, Rory, is when we get people away from their sides, away from their teams, and it's just a one-on-one connection, we find out that we're all so much more similar, so much more alike than we are different. You know, we
yeah.
we all want peace. We all want to love and be loved. All want to go watch our kids play sports or have a pint with our mate at the pub or grow some flowers or watch the butterflies. We just don't want the permacrisis. Crisis. We don't want the chaos. We all want the same things. And connection is is hardwired in all of us as humans. I mean, it's in our brainstem, it's in our DNA, it's in the code of life that we want to connect with other humans. And so the book is really a reminder to all of us to show up and connect because that's what we all want. And once you realize that, hey, what everybody wants to connect? Yeah, they do. You know, it doesn't look that way when you walk down the street because everybody's doing this and it's got their earphones on and nobody's looking up. But
Right.
if you can practice taking these out and don't doing this and walk down the street with your hand up and say good morning, hello, just that's what I love about every time I go down to Mexico. It's everybody. It's buenos dias. It's called and report back. It's almost you say good morning to somebody. It's like a compulsion. You're compelled to say it back.
Right.
And then when I get back home and you try that and maybe 1 out of 10 will say good morning back. But
Right. They'll look at you funny.
oh
Like, are you talking to me?
yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, yeah. I will not be stopped. I'm like, do you want a hug? Come on.
Right?
Yeah.
The book has a lot of these types of stories in it, and like you said, a lot of what you just said is in the book, and so I've had the opportunity to look it over, but I got to be honest with you, when I started reading it, I'm like, okay, this is a great marketing plan, and then I'm like, the guy's in a kilt. I'm going, is he really in a kilt, or is this just for the book, right? Because that's where I'm coming from. Is almost I started the book and I didn't realize it until I started reading it that I had almost a pessimistic, um, sort of hardened viewpoint of it, right? And as I'm reading it, I'm like, wait a minute, really? So, I move forward, like, where's this going? Because I want to know more. And then I see the pictures that you have in the book. And at the end, in the ebook, you've got these pictures of you standing there in the kilt, wearing the socks, and pictures of the socks. And I'm going, wait, he's serious. This is real. This is really pink socks.
Look,
So I go
literally,
back to the
it's a
beginning of the
kilt
book.
today. Look, come
Right.
on.
He's wearing the kilt. There it
Yeah.
is.
So, I mean, and the socks. That's all here. It's like,
It made me restart the book. I went back and I restarted the book and I went, okay, you got to read this like you're reading it now, not like you're a podcaster, right? But read it like someone who's just reading the book. And as soon as I did that, I realized how much the concept of the book changed my outlook from the moment I opened it. And that's the reason I'm telling you the story right now, is because
yeah.
whenever I read something like that, and it actually not only makes me change how I'm approaching everything, but made me realize that I was changing how I was approaching everything. I got to give you credit, brother, because
Oh,
that's a
thank you.
that's a powerful book.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm grateful that it spoke to your heart.
it
That was the
was. Yeah,
intention.
I
So
enjoyed that part of it a lot.
yeah,
So,
thank you.
but the book is about connection,
Yeah.
and I know that there's a lot to unpack with it, but there was one point in particular that I found. Again, I was sort of trying to read ahead on it almost, and you talk about running into someone who's not having a good day
Mhm.
at all, and how
Yeah.
you handle it. And at that point, I could basically picture exactly how it was being handled. But is that the type of thing that you've run into more often than not, with this sort of thing, or is that more the exception? I'm just curious.
That's more the exception. That story is the extreme. And
Yeah,
I've had maybe two other occasions, but that I felt like, ooh, that could have totally gone a different way.
right.
And Nick, be grateful that you showed up with love and kindness and compassion, and you didn't show up with fear. You know, that you held space for someone who was obviously not at their best. Uh, that was a difficult chapter to write, and what I've heard from people who've read the book, probably one of the most difficult chapters to read. Um, and those moments when people may be at their worst is really an invitation for us to show up at our best. It's an opportunity to not try to fix anything, to not be a hero, but just to hold space. And if you remember in that story, his name's Steve, that I was just holding space with him, not, there wasn't
Yeah,
any construct of judgment or just, hey, I see you, and um, yeah, that chapter is even difficult to talk about now going back and because I can relive that, you know, that night, it's just gotten dark and um yeah. So how this really works, and this is in every now, there's love and there's fear, and they coexist all the time. And so there's all of these attributes of fear. Okay, let's make a T account and we'll list them. So let's name some. So anger, judgment,
sure.
grief, shame, racism, xenophobia, homophobia, bigotry, on and on and on. All these dark characteristics of fear. And then there's the characteristics of love: empathy, kindness, compassion, sympathy, cooperation, anti-bullying, inclusion, on and on, right? Just they coexist in every now. They show up. And it's our choice. It's our decision on how we're going to show up. So we have to put intention on, I'm going to show up with these attributes. And so these attributes of love that we just listed, they're not just ideals. They're the glue that holds us together, holds ourselves together, and holds us together with each other. Right. And so the puzzle piece on the socks, I added the puzzle piece in 2017 when I did that TEDx talk in San Francisco. So before it was all just the mustaches, then we added the puzzle pieces. And the puzzle pieces says pink socks connecting people all around the world. So the puzzle piece represents the power of connection. You know, each of us is a piece of the puzzle. There's one big puzzle, this beautiful tapestry of life. And although we're unique and beautiful and diverse in our own ways, each of us is a piece of something larger. And it takes all of us to work together, be together, to be this one beautiful thing. And if we focus on that, and if we come at situations and in life and every day, and we realize that, hey, some days he's going to have a bad day. Some days I'm going to have a bad day. Some days he's going to have a great day. And some days I'm going to have a great day. Some days it rains and some days the sun shines. It's the flow of life. It's not always, perfect. It's not always unicorns and cupcakes and rainbows. Sometimes it's really shitty. And that's the human condition. The label on the sock says the world is full of good. When you believe it, you see it. Keep doing that. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't mean that there isn't bad things in the world. There's terrible things in the world. But what we focus on is what we see. And if we look through that lens, right? If I put my glasses on and I look through the lens of love and kindness versus the lens of fear, well, what we focus on is what we're going to see. And we just keep doing that again and again and again. And we start seeing the best in ourselves, the best in each other. This is really the message is nothing new, Rory. It's been handed down from the beginning that love is the way. And we know that. Our heart knows that. All we have to do is listen to this and follow that path, get out of our minds so much, and lean back to what we each know, what we all crave, this connection that we all want love and kindness and peace. And I think that's I think that's the one big takeaway, and from the book. And as you read, I hope you noticed at each end of each chapter, there's like a little breakout section I call the takeaway.
Yep.
It's the hey, I don't want you to miss this. This is what I was really trying to get my heart speak for you to get. And like, oh, and I believe the book, is something you'll read more than once. You're probably going to go back to that again. And that was also by design. And the dimensions of the book, they match the dimensions of a book that I've carried with me my whole life. It's The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And so the dimensions, the weight of this book, I've got muscle memory. I can feel like I'm holding my copy of The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And and you notice those QR codes that were throughout the book too.
Oh
That
yeah.
helps save on printing cost.
I'll
So
bet.
it helped me maintain the dimensions of the book, which I wanted to be like my copy of Khalil Gibran. And each of those chapters, some of the pictures, had the QR codes. So I hope you had a chance to go down the rabbit hole and, discover more of the stories or see some of the original pictures. I mean, some of my favorite pictures, astronauts, right? So along the way, 5 astronauts have been gifted pink socks. In fact, there's
Right.
a chapter in there called The Captain, which is our first astronaut and my personal favorite. And but like Commander Hadfield, Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut who was up on the International Space Station and played David Bowie on the guitar. Remember that?
Right.
He's got pink socks, and his original Instagram post is in the book. And you QR code that, it takes you to his original post on Instagram. just, Deepak Chopra was gifted pink
Yep.
socks by a gentleman, Dr. Amir Kalali in San Diego, gifted him his pink socks to Deepak Chopra. I mean, it's just, again, through the years, especially when Twitter was uh, we were all just getting up every day searching that hashtag and seeing who around the world was gifting pink socks and how that grows. And now it's more on, everybody tried Blue Sky, but that didn't seem to get a lot of traction. But so a lot of the pink sock stuff now is showing up on LinkedIn, go figure.
Huh.
And uh, but hey, who's going to get tired of seeing happy, smiley people in pink socks, spreading love and kindness? It works on
Right.
LinkedIn too, so it's great.
Right. Just to close the book on Steve, because I don't want to give away all the secret sauce to the book either, but
Yeah,
um, one of the things that happened with that chapter that I also found in the other chapters was a lot of identification. A lot. It didn't just speak to you; you could kind of see yourself there. And I realized that not only, and I think a lot of people will feel this too when they read the book. Um, we all know a Steve
yeah.
for sure, but the
Or
problem
we may have
is
been a Steve.
we've all been a Steve.
Yeah,
Exactly where I was going.
yeah,
You got it. And when you think about that for a minute, the first thing is, oh, I know that guy. And then you go, wait a minute, I've been that guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So a lot of the book is like that. A lot of the book makes you look at yourself when you're reading it,
yeah.
which I wish you would have warned me about. Okay. I mean,
Put
I
a
thought
little
it was,
disclaimer at the front.
I mean, hey, Rory, hey, read this book with a scotch,
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
would have been nice.
Yeah.
But
A
no,
nice Lagavulin.
I noticed that about it. And so, I mean, I was thinking that probably was intentional as well with the way you wrote it.
It was, and it's also very similar to the experience of wearing pink socks. This phenomenon of the pink socks is, on the back label of the pink socks are the instructions for how to wear the pink socks. Like, any instructions? Yeah. So this is the warning on, there is a warning on the socks. And it basically says every time you wear these, you're going to connect with people. Had you not been wearing the socks that day, you would have missed each other. So when someone comments, that's your opportunity to connect with someone new. Don't miss each one of those moments to connect. And what people routinely have heard through the years is like, somebody gifted me these pink socks, and I'm kind of an introvert, and pink's not really my thing, and I don't really want to connect with people, but I leaned into it and I went with it. And yeah, people started commenting and I had to talk back. And the more I did that, the easier it became. And so I went from being an introvert, not wanting to talk to me, to like, oh yeah, these things help me connect with people and start a conversation. And now that 2 hour flight just went by like that because I was talking to somebody and hearing their story and sharing my story. And, I walked away with like a new friend. And I've found that, I wear my pink socks on purpose just to get out there and connect with people. And then people realize, hey, I'm having these connections and on days I'm not even wearing the pink socks. And I go, boom, exactly. Because the PhD here level of the pink socks, Rory, is it never was about the pink socks. It was always about you. And that's how the book is.
Right.
So here we are. So it's good to see you, brother. It's about all of us. It's about you. It's about me. It's about all of us. And we're all the same. Yep.
I think you did the job. I got to
Thank
tell
you.
you, I
Thank you.
appreciate
I'm
you sending it
grateful.
to me because, and in all honesty, if I had not read it, I would not get it. There's no way I'd get it if I hadn't read it.
Yeah.
So I
And
really do
it's an
appreciate
easy
it.
little read. You can read it in 1 to 2 sittings, and that's also by design. I want people to stay with it and stay in the flow, and be able to want to finish it. And again, we've all got ADHD from
Yeah, of course.
this,
100%.
so uh, it's a nice, easy read, and I'm I'm glad you got it. All
Yeah.
the reviews I'm seeing that are coming in, it seems like everybody's getting it. So all 5 stars with some, people saying nice things. I'm grateful I haven't, there's no haters yet. So hopefully keep that up.
Haters doesn't mean it's bad. Everybody gets haters, right? I mean, if you don't get any haters, you're not making the point yet.
Yeah.
So you'll get there.
But the haters, are like like Steve's, and so on, they're the herders.
Right.
They're the ones who really need the hug. They want the hug.
For
They
sure.
want the connection. They want the connection more than you want the connection.
Yeah.
And when you realize that, where that's coming from, if you can just stand your ground and love, hold space, bear witness to someone's pain, um, one day somebody's going to do that for you.
Sure.
We're going to have that day where, phew, boy, I really just need somebody to hold space for the shit I'm going through right now.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you a little bit about the process of this. Just in terms of you putting the book out. This is the first book you've written,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yes.
So congratulations. You're a published
Thank
author
you.
now. Way to go.
Thank you.
Um, when we go into writing our book, especially our first book, we have an idea of this is what it's going to be like writing a book, right? And we have an image or a vision of, the finished product, of us holding the finished product. Sometimes it's cashing a big check or it's, big smiles, type of thing, right? What was it like for you? You're writing your first book. This is um, a big topic to you. There's a lot of meaning behind the topic already, even though it's not in
Yeah.
book form. So that's kind of why I'm curious about this question is going into the process, how did the vision of where you would go and how it would end up, how did that differ from where you went and where you actually ended up, with the process of writing the book?
Yeah. The most difficult thing in writing the book was there was so much content. There were so many stories through the years, so many of, the difficult thing was what to include and what to leave out.
Hmm.
And so, and how to make it flow so that it spoke to all three of those circles.
Yeah.
So that resonated with each of those audiences. And I knew that I wanted it to be somewhat linear, somewhat chronological. And there was a time when COVID hit, that's when we acquired the van and took the show on the road,
We
and
haven't
so
even talked about the van yet.
yeah, I did van life for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a picture in there of the van. And
Yep.
for the van is basically, this on wheels. They love more going down the road. Yeah. And so there were so many stories that year and a half from van life because I literally was all over the US, Mexico, Canada. I went all the way up to Nova Scotia to Gampo Abbey, where Pima Chodron lives, very tip of Nova Scotia in the North Atlantic. It's no, as far as you can drive. So many stories in van life, and that story for Steve was during that period.
Yeah.
Um, so as I really wanted to write this linear chronological history, if you will, of just like it says, this is how this became a symbol of love and connection. I wanted to tell that story. I realized, and Jonathan, who became my editor, we were talking one night, and he said, there's so much. He goes, well, I think what you really have is three books. He said, so as you write this and to help you kind of streamline it, don't try to get it all in one book. He goes, I think you've got three books. You've got a trilogy here. And so write this one. Let this be the story of how it all happened. And so the second book, Rory, is going to be all about van life, stories from the road. So it's going to be just chock full of stories like Steve.
Yeah.
And and then the third book is going to be a collection of stories from the tribe, their shared stories. So each chapter is going to be somebody else is going to contribute for that chapter. It's going to be a collection of Heartspeak stories that they've had because of connections, because of their pink socks. Um, the the van life that year and a half, and even now, I mean, we still have the van, and we take it to schools and other events, and no matter where I was or where I am in that van, and so you kind of have to let go of this bias you may have of geopolitical boundaries and certain areas of the country are going to be a certain way. No, this is kind of unique everywhere. Is I'd be standing there, filling it up with diesel, and across the pump, there's somebody, and I can see them eyeballing the Lovemore, and and I routinely mapped everywhere without to avoid freeways or interstates. So I'd only be taking these small state highways and roads instead of getting into community that year and a half. But they would be standing there looking over the pump and eyeing the van, and they, it typically started like this. What's that about? Okay, for number one, they don't know it's a kilt. For them, I'm a man in a dress and pink socks in rural wherever,
Right.
and in a hippie van. This is a little more. The world's full of good when you believe you see it. And so there's a little bit of, most people come at it with they're guarded, and hey, what's that all about? And I always do the same thing. I would first I'd say, I'm Nick. What's your name? Let's introduce each other. And they would say, well, I'm Rory. I said, hey, Rory, it's good to see you. And I said, I look back at the van, I read it, and I said, well, and I look back at them and I go, what does it mean to you?
And you.
And they would say,
Right.
that we need to be kinder. Exactly. So whatever they would say, I would say exactly, because what's important, it's not important what it means to me. It's important what it means to you, right?
Right.
That's the message. And so, and that diffuses that situation instantly to, and about, I'd say 90% of the time, the person would say, hey, do you got a minute? Dude, I got nothing but time. I'm doing van life. Wait, let's just pull over here, park under the tree in the shade there, and talk. And sometimes those minutes would turn into an hour. Hey, we've got some soccer chairs. Why don't I just get them out? We'll just sit out here and, shoot the shit. And most of the stories, Rory, that people share, their heart speak, they're not happy stories. They're sad stories. They're stories of loss and pain. They're stories like, my wife just died from cancer.
Mm.
I just found out I have cancer. My son's in prison. My daughter OD'd. I was thinking about killing myself today, just on and on. And so when you can hold space with someone's pain and listen to their heart speak, share that, right? Don't try to fix it. Just bear witness to it. That's the gift. It has nothing to do with the pink socks. As the gift is the connection, showing up, being open, willing, present, to have that experience, to not have the fear of anything, to have any judgment or biases or like, oh, this is going to be dangerous. And yeah, so the second book about stories from van life, that's a bunch of those, a whole bunch of those, bunches and
Nice.
bunches. So
And so what's the third book going to be, or have we not decided that yet?
the third book is a shared collection of stories from other people around the world. So
Uh,
you get a chapter, and Colin gets a chapter, and Gene gets a chapter, and so on. And
got it.
they contribute a story of these shared connection stories, kind of like the Steve story or the John story or whichever story. They're going to be their stories. So this is what happened to me. This is my favorite Pink Socks connection story. So we're going to take a collection of those, and that's the third book.
Nice. Nice. Do we have dates on these books yet? I mean, because, I do have to put that on the podcast if we have it. So come on, give me some kind of a
No,
scoop here,
I
Nick.
no. So right now the book is available in hardback and Kindle.
Mhm.
And the spring we're releasing paperback and audiobook at the same time. And I'm actually going to do the audiobook. I
Excellent.
wasn't, but then people who know me are like that have got the book. They're like, as I read the book, it sounds just like you. I can hear your voice while I'm reading. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, it's trippy. They're like, you definitely have to do an audiobook. Okay. So
Yeah. No, good move. I mean, you've got a good voice for it too.
yeah, I was
It's
gonna
your
get
story.
somebody with like a really nice Irish accent to do it, but
Hmm. Okay.
But no, I'm going to do it myself.
I
So
didn't read it with an Irish accent. I'm not going to lie to
yeah.
you. It was, yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
a little more like you for sure.
Yeah.
So, but no, I can appreciate that, man. I really can. I mean, it's an amazing story. It really is,
Thank
and
you.
the heart behind the story, is really everything, about it and the meaning behind it. So,
Yeah. And
I applaud you
there's
for
no
doing it.
AI. Thank you. There's no AI in there.
Love
Um,
that.
it was, and the way I write, and I've always written, everybody has their own style. I remember like when I was in school and went to business school and, and doing business plans at work, I was always better typing than I was, freehanding. Some people write, way better just pen to paper. I've always been better on the keyboard. And um, I I found that it wasn't like I could say, okay, on the calendar, I'm going to put this is when you're going to write. It wasn't like I could schedule it on my calendar. This is time for you to write now, Nick. No, I really had to just be, moved to do it. And it would be, I would start thinking of a story, a memory, right? Like the teacher, Miss
Yeah,
Blankus. And the emotion of that story and that memory would be, I just have to, this is going to be in the book. And so I would just write and it would just go, brrr, and it would just, as fast as I could type, I'm, I'm telling you the story of Miss Blankus. And, and there's no like, oh, I have to go back and, move this here or edit this there. No, it just came out of my heart right into, the keyboard. This heart speak just as fast as I could get it in there. And, a lot of those stories include a lot of tears. And so it would be, emotionally exhausting to write just one little chapter. And I would
right.
just be in a puddle, just, um, and some of those stories, even now, they're hard to just even conjure up and talk about that they're
Yeah,
that intimate, that raw, that vulnerable of how each of us are, and I believe, I hope the book is a good reminder that it's okay for all of us to be authentic, right? To
yeah,
just show up as a human. We don't have all the answers. At times, yeah, I'm as scared as you are, and admit that instead of trying to hide behind something. And, you know, the more that we can have these true, authentic connections, the better we'll all be. And, we learn to love ourselves, we learn to love each other, and it's all just a journey. We're on it. So like, there's a section in the book, where we say we're all living in our own films, we're starring in our own
right.
films. And so um, yeah, it's, I'm glad I wrote it, and I'm glad that it hit the mark for your heart. So, and
Yeah.
you saw yourself in it. So,
Appreciate it. I really do. I could talk to you about this for another hour, brother. So, probably just comparing stories, even,
yeah.
and I don't even have the pink socks yet,
Yeah.
so,
Well, hey, listen, next time
but,
I'm van lifing, I guess I'll have to come through your town and get the soccer chairs out and just sit and talk for hours. Yeah.
hey, man, I would not mind as long as the coffee's right. You
Yeah.
can count on it, man. The As we kind of pull this together and start to wrap up a little bit here, want to make sure that we get the contact information out. Okay,
Yeah.
for how can people find out more about this, find the pink socks, find the book, the whole 9 yards, reach you. Give me all that. I'll make sure we get that stuff into the show notes.
All right. Yeah. So I think I said this in the beginning. If not, I want to make sure all the proceeds of the sale of the book go to the nonprofit to support our mission of spreading love and kindness around the world. And the best way to find all of this is on our website, pinksocks.life. Pinksocks.life. Uh, you can find all about Pink Socks, what we're doing. You can see what we're doing with schools. You can easily find the book. It's right there on on the homepage. Just click the book and follow the rest. And pinksocks.life is also our Instagram account. So follow us there. You can see a bunch of happy, smiley people gifting each other pink socks all around the world. We try to keep that thing updated once a day or so. And if you get tired of doom scrolling and you want to go see something happy, pinksocks.life on Instagram is a good place to stop. So,
Wonderful. All right. I want to make sure we got that in there. So,
all right. Thank
um,
you.
in the middle of all this, congratulations also on becoming a published author because, a lot of
Thank you.
folks wish that they could get their book out, and you did. You made it a reality. So,
Well, thank you. And listen,
congratulations
hey,
on that.
Rory, the last month of it published, I think the release date was November the 4th. So it's just been out. But that last month before it went live, I mean, literally I was talking to Jonathan, the editor, and I even reached out to my therapist who I haven't reached out to in like, I don't know, a year and a half. And I was like, I'm having all kinds of anxiety about this book, like that I wasn't expecting. Like
Right.
I'm being like, maybe we don't release it. Let's just, I don't know if I don't want to put this out there. And and my therapist is texting me back, and I said, no, we're not even gonna have a call. He just texted me. He said, look, all you got to do is practice what you preach. Love more, fear less.
Ah, good
So
one.
just love more, fear less. He goes, the world needs this book. So just lean into love more, fear less. And I was like, are you charging me for that? Yes.
I was just thinking that's why the therapists make the big bucks, man,
Yeah. I
because
was
you
like,
you
no, that's
sort
a
of frame it
freebie.
like
Yeah, you
that.
just get a freebie. So I was like, all right.
Frame it like that and send it home and then
Yeah.
just hang up.
But I did not see that coming. I did not see that anxiety at at the finish line coming. And then, but I've talked to a lot of people, that have been in the same thing, and they're like, yeah, it's I believe, it's when you put so much of your heart into something, you're really exposing yourself. You're really opening up some vulnerability. And that was something I wasn't really anticipating. I expect it now on the next one. I get it, um, but again, that gets back to, hey, we're all vulnerable.
Right.
We're all we're all scared and all the things. So no matter how old we get and how life can toughen us or whatever, we're in the end, we're all just that same little boy out there trying
Right
to
on.
figure it all out. So now I've got grandchildren, and I remember when this a life lesson is when both of my kids, I have a 30-year-old and a 29-year-old, and a son and a daughter, and I said the same thing to each of them when they both turned 18 on their 18th birthday. Um, well, really after their 18th birthday, but when they turned 18 and the next time they came to me with a dad question, like, hey, dad, what, I said to each of them individually when it occurred, I said, Wyatt, Clementine, my daughter, I said, Wyatt, I've been waiting your whole life for you to ask me this question right now. And he's like, yeah, what? I go, let me tell you a little secret. I don't have the answers. I'm just trying to figure my shit out too. Okay. So welcome to life. Yeah. I've done the best I could do and winging it and making shit up and trying to be the best parent I could for 18 years. But now you're in on the joke. Nobody has the answers. We're all just trying to figure it out. And I'm a granddad now. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right
Nobody's
on.
got the answers, man. None of us do. Just got to lean into that. So
Right.
let us
Well,
know.
that kind of takes us into my last question, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Now that you're a published author, what's your best piece of advice for the authors out there that are not quite where you are yet? They're not published yet, and man, they really want to be.
I'd say just lean into it. Yeah, let your heart speak and love more, fear less. That's what we got to do. Love more, fear less. Just float more, steer less. Just let your heart talk. And it's gonna it's gonna sing a song that everybody wants to group to, just tell it. Everybody, all of us, everybody's got a story to share. All we have to do is stop and listen. So share yours. Yeah, share it.
Love it. Love it. All right, folks. Author of Pink Socks, Nicholas Adkins. Nick, thank you, brother, for being on,
Rory,
for
thank you.
sending me the book, and for doing everything that you're doing out there in the world, man. We need that. This world really needs what you're putting out there.
Yeah, likewise, Rory. I'm grateful for you too. So you
Thank you,
keep
man.
doing your stuff. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
All right,
All right,
brother.
folks. This has been another episode of the Right Path podcast, where the truth still counts and words still have power. This is the place where authors know that every page is a step forward. So let's lift each other up. Let's dust ourselves off and let's move forward together.